close off today's first live streamed session, we have the pleasure of having one of the core contributors of Radio Cavolo, Elena Asciutti. Elena, thank you very much for being here, and you're the guest.
Well, thank you very much to you for hosting me, but I'm not alone, and you will know in a second with whom I am, in a very deep improvised session, but this is the way we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the European University Institute. So I'm very glad and grateful that I'm together with Dr. Pilvi Torsti. If I can say, Pilvi, welcome. You are a friend of the European University Institute, and you are also the director of the European Training Foundation, a partner to be of the EUI. So thank you for coming and celebrating with us this anniversary. And to kick off the conversation, of course, if you wish to further introduce yourself, you have a fantastic professional career in academia and policy making at different levels, Finland and Europe. But my kick-off question would rather be the power of knowledge. What would you say about us in your role as Director of the European Training Foundation, also focusing on education? Over to you. Thank you again.
No, thank you, Elena, and first of all, of course, congratulations for the birthday. I was wondering if it's a birthday boy, birthday girl, birthday legal subject, so let's put it just the birthday knowledge partner for us, for instance. Power of knowledge. I was actually reflecting that what's my wish for EUI as the celebrating its 50, coming from European Training Foundation, which is an EU agency working on the education and training in the external world, so namely from Ukraine to Balkans to Mediterranean region, North Africa, Central Asia, looking at systems, education and training system, education and employment, and we work together with EUI. What is the knowledge there in our work? And I came with actually, Elena, 3 words. I think it's about, we have to talk about relevance, we have to talk about reliable partnerships, and we have to talk about roles in skills ecosystem. What I mean by relevance, I think that is acute for all of us as EU bodies, and in today's world where the knowledge is so much needed for the questions of our time, but we also have the request of relevance from our citizens. But I think also increasingly from other external forces if we look at what is happening in the world. So in order to be relevant knowledge partners, knowledge workers, we have to also focus on our own relevance, and relevance that is also felt and seen by our citizens. That's fundamental within the EU framework. Then on moving from the relevance to the reliable partner. So EUI and ETF, for instance, recently had an event here in Florence where we focused on research and policy dialogue. And there the point was precisely this. EUI has the academic freedom, right? And that academic freedom can produce fantastic evidence base for policymakers, but it's relevant if it's done for instance, at the right time, at the right place. So when ETF has, as an EU agency, this mandate to work on the systemic reforms in the countries we work, so there, for us, it is fundamental that we are kind of reliable partners coming together. So without one or the other, the impact is not actually happening. So you need that freedom of academic freedom, producing therefore new knowledge, and then the timeliness and the understanding of the policy processes. Say, if Egypt is doing a strategy for its education system, and you have relevant knowledge the week later, it has very little impact. And finally, then, so from the relevance to reliable partner, the role in skills ecosystem. Our times are requesting huge amounts of both new knowledge and the application of the knowledge we have in order to tackle whether it is the twin transition, the whole discussion on security and preparedness, and many other issues that we are finding ourselves really as questions of our time. And there, the skilling needs in all levels of societies are something we have not seen before. And there, my really call for the birthday celebrity, now I found the word, birthday celebrity, is to be part of that ecosystem. We need the academia, we need the secondary education, we need the primary education, all to be kind of bringing their bit to that massive skilling need. And of course, again, knowledge plays a huge role there as the fundamental building block of it.
If I may, Dr. Torsti, thank you very much. I just want to connect what you just said to the discussions that we had over the course of this past hour of live streaming with the several guests that attended today's broadcast. And there were two main focuses that obviously emerged given the nature of today's event. One is on the changing levels of education, so how education is actually changing nowadays, that there's new technologies, but also new mandate for universities, which is not only that of teaching good citizens, but also coming up with good questions for the society to evolve, hopefully for the better. So that's one of the areas in which I would like to pick your brain. How do you see the different roles of education? How do you see it changing? And how consequently education changes by shaped through this type of evolution?
Yeah.
If I may, before we continue, maybe Elena has another, and then we bunch the two of them, and then we close the stream because we are
time is flying
over time.
Yeah, sure.
Apologies to our listeners, and thank you.
Good timekeeper, Leo. Thank you very much. So my question to you, in complementarity to what Jan has just asked you, is about the relationship with the countries, partner countries outside Europe. What is the demand that the partners of the European Training Foundation ask you the most when it comes to education or skills ecosystem? Where do they see the added value of Europe and specifically of the European Union? Because this, I think, is something that the EUI could also benefit from your experience on the field. Thank you, Pilvi.
Thank you. So let me start with Elena, and I close with the levels of education of Jan's question. Of course, the countries that ETF works with have similarities, but also a lot of differences. So if you think about Ukraine having very specific, on one side moving closer to European Union, so there is the whole enlargement process and the candidate process, the same with many Western Balkan countries. Then we have Mediterranean pact, so countries like Egypt or Morocco with very youthful populations. Or then we have Central Asia, where, for instance, the all migration waves changed because of the Russian aggression to Ukraine, changing the kind of strata. But so overall, what I think one could say from the European perspective, what we observe over and again is that the sort of European frameworks really work and are interesting. If I take an example, for instance, for digital education, so digital frameworks, giving then a kind of mechanism as to how you look at it within your own system with the evidence basis that ETF together with its partners can create in terms of, so let's say we take the transport sector, we look at what are the skills needs there, and then we look at what frameworks can be given, whether it's frameworks concerning the kind of occupational standards and identifications and needs, or whether it is, for instance, the certain curriculum needs. And that brings me easily to your question to the education levels. And I take the example of the green skills, which we talk so often about, as a kind of a bit abstract, if you like. So if you break it down to the educational levels, what does it actually mean? We at the moment have a challenge where we have the basic education that needs to provide the basic awareness. Then we have the secondary education, whether general or vocational, that needs to bring already core competencies on the green side. And then higher education that needs to really bring about the very specific, highly trained professionals. And finally, the sort of adult education, lifelong learning, that actually needs to bridge all of these. So from awareness to core competencies to specific knowledge. And hence my point about the role of EUI in being important in the skills ecosystem, because this challenge or this need is so fundamentally complex, but at the same time, actually it can be broken into these pieces that I think all the actors can find their relevant role. And there comes all this relevance, being a reliable partner, and finally having a role in this system. So I think that is my cheers for the 50-year celebration.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pilvi. And I I trust this is just one of the many pieces of a long-term conversation between the European Training Foundation and the European University Institute.
And this week we had the first trainee of EUI starting at the ETF, so actually it marks the 50th birthday, I just realized, in a very nice way. Thank you very much.
So many things happening in a week. Thank you very
Yes.
much, Dr. Torsti. Thank you very much, Elena.
Thank you, Jan and Leo.
It's been a pleasure for you.
Indeed, very much a pleasure having you here. To all our viewers and listeners, Elena will be a familiar face. She will be in the
Hosting the
second
next
hosting,
section
exactly,
at 4.
at 4 p.m.
At 4. Yeah, see you
So,
later.
see you.
Stay
Thank you
tuned.
so much.
Ciao,
See you
bye-bye.
around.